Hello, welcome back once again to After the Credits. So, finally got around to seeing a little bit more current of a movie, still playing in the main theater. Yay. I got to see Central Intelligence, which I guess opened right before I took my vacation, so been out for a couple weeks, but not so far removed that it's possibly out on DVD yet. At least not yet, who knows. So, what did I think of Central Intelligence? It was better than I thought it was going to be. At the same time, it's still kind of campy. But overall, I enjoyed it. It was fun to watch. Kevin Hart wasn't quite as annoying as I thought he was going to be based on other movies like Ride Along. I kind of thought he'd be playing a similar character. He does, but he tones it down quite a bit. He tries to take the role a little bit more seriously and only does that overemphasized comedy thing that he does at certain points in it when it seems necessary. I guess it never seems necessary to me, but at the same time, when he was doing it in the situations he was in, I can understand why he would react that way, and he wasn't just doing it through the whole film and being like spastic about it when, like in Ride Along, when he'd be playing opposite Ice Cube, and he'd just kind of like go crazy for no reason. The movie basically, again, is what you see in the previews. The Rock's character was a fat kid in high school. He got really embarrassed during senior prep rally or something in the gym one day. A bunch of bullies threw him out into the gymnasium completely naked. Kevin Hart's character is the only one who actually took sympathy on him. He gave him his Letterman jacket to cover up, and everyone else in the gym was laughing at him except for Kevin Hart's girlfriend. Kevin Hart was like a real popular jock, was most likely to succeed and all that. And their 20-year reunion, I guess, is coming up. And Kevin Hart's now wife, who was his girlfriend in high school, wants to go. He doesn't really because he doesn't feel like he lived up to that moniker of most likely to succeed. He feels that his life kind of got stagnant. Even though he ends up marrying the woman that he loved in high school and they stayed together the whole time, their marriage is still good. But he feels like he kind of hit a rut and never came out of it. Eventually he meets back up with The Rock's character, who goes by a different name now. And at first he's like, when he contacts him through Facebook, and he's like, who is this? And he's like, oh, I was Fat Robbie in school, And they're like, oh, wow, yeah, let's meet up, man. Because he felt bad. And he's like, yeah, I'll meet up with you, have a drink or whatever. He meets up, and now Fat Robbie's The Rock. So, of course, he's like, wow, you really changed. The Rock is still the goofy, kind of nerdy character that he was in high school, except now he's a house. So I felt The Rock kind of overplayed that nerdiness a little bit, but as the movie goes on, you realize that he kind of obsessed with Kevin Hart's character because Kevin Hart had always been the one who was nice to him. He kind of obsessed with him, made him his role model, and kind of has like a guy crush on him a little bit. And that's why he acts a little bit nerdy around him, is because he's trying to be like, hey, I'm one of the guys just like you, and we're friends, and I want to fit in with you, even though he's probably far surpassed Kevin Hart's character at this point, but he still feels like he has to live up to this expectation, so he kind of overacts his coolness and ends up coming off a little bit more nerdy than he plans. But he doesn't care because he is who he is. Like, he's talking about his favorite film being 16 Candles, and like at one point they're talking about how he's obsessed with Roadhouse. So they come to find out he's a member of the CIA who's under investigation for possible treason. He tells Kevin Hart's character, I didn't do it, but I know who did. I'm trying to track them down. I need your help. Blah, blah, blah. So Kevin Hart gets roped into helping him out. He keeps telling him, no, I can't help you. And somehow ends up helping him. And even though everyone tells him not to trust The Rock, he trusts The Rock because he knows who he used to be. And he still kind of sees him as that guy. And he can't really envision him being this other psychopath that they say he is. So he keeps giving him the benefit of the doubt and helping him out. Some of it he gets roped into, he has no control over. Other parts he has control over, and he just decides, this has gone too far, I believe what he's telling me, so I'm going to trust him. And they kind of play out the movie that way, eventually catching up with the big bad and figuring out who it is. I kind of called it from midway through the movie when they explained that the circumstances of how how he got involved with the treason aspect. And I was like, okay, I see how this is going to play out towards the end. And of course, that is how it plays out. And everything gets resolved, and they go to their high school reunion, and they have the reunion, and that's kind of it. Like I said, overall, it was a fun movie. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I've kind of come to have low expectations for Kevin Hart films just because he overdoes that I'm the spastic little guy freaking out bit, especially after 2 ride-along movies when he's just like does that bit. I was expecting that in this one too, and he only does it like a handful of times, and each time it's like, yeah, I can forgive that one because of the situation he was in. People would possibly freak out like that. There were like 2 times in the movie I was like, really, don't do it here, don't do it here. He did it, but it was a lot more mild. Like at one point they were questioning him, and he's like, he was acting nervous, and they're like, well, you're acting kind of nervous. And he's like, I'm not nervous. You know, he's like getting real fidgety, but he didn't like do the whole freak out yelling thing that he does. He was just kind of like fidgety and stuff. And it's like, you could have done not that and had it work, but, you know, okay, I can kind of let you slide on that one because you didn't go full blown freak out. So yeah, it was kind of fun. What would I get as far as a star rating? Like I said, I think The Rock kind of overamped the nerdiness and the goofballiness, but at the same time, I kind of liked it. There were only a handful of times that I was kind of like dialing back a little bit, Rock. Although I did see on Facebook today that they're remaking the live-action Tick, and they showed a picture of the guy who they got to play the Tick in the suit, and he just doesn't fit the role. Like, the Tick has always been like this overly tall, overly muscular guy with a big, huge chin and everything, and just acts really goofy. And the guy they got to play him in the photo that I saw just doesn't really fit the look at all. The suit actually looks kind of horrible on him. And as I'm sitting there looking at that, and I'm thinking about Central Intelligence, which I just watched, I was like, you know, The Rock is such a huge, muscular guy, and seeing him in Central Intelligence acting that goofy, other than he doesn't have a real chiseled chin, he kind of has like a sharper, pointier chin, he would actually make a great Tick. Based on the goofballiness that he had in this, if he could do it with a serious deadpan tone, kind of like the Tick does, where he's not overly ampy, animated, goofy, but kind of saying goofy stuff while still being kind of firm about it, which I think The Rock could do, I think he would actually be a great person to play the Tick. But obviously, they're already casting him in the DC universe eventually whenever they do the Shazam movie. Supposedly he's playing Black Adam, so he's already got 1 superhero coming up under his belt. I don't know if they fit him into 2. But I could definitely see him, after watching this movie today, see him playing that role. But yeah, so back to what I was saying. As far as the star rating, what would I give it? I'd say 3.5. Like I said, I probably would have actually gave this a 4 because I did enjoy it a lot more than I thought I would based on the preview. It more or less is what you see in the preview, but I had a different expectation going into it. Like I said, it does earn some points because Kevin Hart didn't do his full freak out like he did in Ride Along, but at the same time he did hit it a few times more than he should have. And The Rock kind of overamped the clowniness. Could have been dialed back a little bit. You know, there's a way to still be amped up and clowny, but not seem out of place doing it. There was a real early film in The Rock's career. It was like back when he was still wrestling. It was one of his first film roles. It had John Travolta in it. Was it Get Shorty or Get Schmidt or something like that, where he played an actor and he was kind of being a clown in that. And that's kind of where I think he should have left his clowniness in this, but he amped it up a little bit higher than that. What was the name of that movie? It's Get Carter? It's Get something. I don't know. I'll look it up and maybe mention it in the next video, whenever that is. But yeah, he was in that, and he played kind of a goofball character, different from what you always saw him in the wrestling ring as. And I think had he stuck with that in this movie, he probably would have been okay, but he overamped it a lot. Like I said, they do kind of explain why, and it kind of makes sense that he only does it in certain aspects. But at the same time, we'd like to see him dial back a little bit, so it loses a little bit of points for that. Otherwise, it probably would have been up closer to a 4, But because of those minor issues, I'm going to knock it down to 3.5. But I'm not going below a 3.5 because, like I said, I did enjoy it a lot more than I thought I would. So it deserves to be closer to a 4, but not a 4 because of the other issues. So that is it for this episode. That is my review of Central Intelligence. Not sure when the next video will be coming out. Probably shortly after this one. I just need a couple days to actually film and edit things. But hopefully that won't be too long in between again. Kind of back onto a pace now, but like I said, I am kind of in a rough patch with money until some things come in. And I might have a few days between, but it won't be an extended period like it was this last time when I was gone for 2 or 3 weeks. So that is it for this episode. Again, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember, like, comment, rate, subscribe, share the video. The links are in the description right below me here. And up there in the lower right-hand corner of the banner at the top of the page. And until next time, we will see you after the credits.